Hello, I came across a thread on RC Groups today which describes a way that you can fiddle around with the insides of your IA6, your FlySky IA6 or ia6b receiver and get the flight battery voltage showing on your transmitter so that then you can set some alarms and the transmitter will make a noise when the flight path gets low to let you know you should stop flying. But anyway, let's have a little quick look at what happens. So keep an eye on the screen there. When I plug in my 4S battery, this battery is not fully charged, but we can see the voltage there is 14.9796 volts. So you can then in the it's going to be bright, isn't it? In one of these menus here, you can set some alarm levels to trigger the noise to let you know when the battery's getting low. Unfortunately, in the current state, my transmitter does not go above 10, and the alarms cannot go above this high value. So it's not quite in the state that I wanted it to have it eventually, but let's just have a look at the threads on RC Groups. I will put a link to these in the description, of course. I can't, oh, here it is. So originally this started off as a mod for the IA6 receiver, so you can read a little bit about it there, and Tributu has linked to part of this post, part of this thread, which shows how to do it for the ia6b, which is what I've done. So if we click on that, we can see some photos here showing what you do for the ia6b case. And it's a little bit fiddly, but it's not too difficult. You just have to be careful. For the ia6b, you have to cut 3 of the traces on the PCB, and then you have to connect a couple of points with a little wire, as you can see here. So I'll just show you these pictures first, and then I'll show you some pictures, close-up pictures that I took as I was doing it. So you've got to cut there, and the point of this and also the next cut is to isolate this last pin. So this pin here is the, normally this row of pins here would be the bind pins. So over here we'd have PPM or channel 1, and then it'd be channel 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this signal pin here is actually just used for bind, that's all it does. And this one here would normally be 5 volts, and all of these pins along the middle would be connected together, and they'd all be 5 volts. But we want to isolate this pin so that we can use this pin to connect up our battery to. So this pin's going to be having a lot higher voltage on it. As we saw just before, that 15 volts or so from my flight pack was going directly into this pin. So we don't want that to be touching any of these other pins here, otherwise the receiver will pop, probably. So that's what those 2 cuts are for. And then there's another cut here, which I'll show you a close-up of in a minute, that is, I'm not exactly sure what we're cutting with this one here, but it works great, so I just cut it, and yeah, you should too. And then this piece of wire here has been added after doing those cuts. So let's have a look at my photos of this. So this is the 2 little resistors, and the trace that you need to cut between these is at the top there, which was, so that's this cut here. It's really, really small, these resistors, but there's enough space there, and there's no traces on the other side, like at the top or the bottom, that you're going to accidentally cut if you go a little bit too far. So this is what mine ended up like after I'd cut that one. The other cut, which was, if we go back to that first photo, so the cut here You can see the wire is poking through this little hole there, very conveniently located hole there, by the way. So this cut here in my photos is this trace here, and that you can see the hole at the top is on that side. So just to give you some orientation of what you're looking at if you actually go to do this, that's the hole there, and you've got to cut that trace there. So this is the 5-volt pin there. So that needs to be cut, and I made a bit of a mess of that, but you really do want to make sure that one is cut properly, as is the case with this one, which is this one. So you'll have to sort of pry this plastic base piece off to get access to the PCB underneath, and once you've pried it off, you'll see these traces here. And again, with this one you have to be a little bit careful, because notice that there's some trace going up here, and I think we may actually be, oh no, there's more trace going up there too, isn't there? Well, I think you want to leave this trace intact, so you want to cut through this part here just to isolate this pin all on its own, and it should look something like that once you're done with that. That was actually a fairly easy one, that one. So I recorded some video while I was doing this. I didn't record anything right at the beginning, but around about this point I thought I might record some video as I went and just sort of explain a few things while I was actually doing it. So I'll just play some of those clips from this point on. Okay, so at this point I have made the 3 cuts, but I have not connected the little wire up to the resistor as yet. And at this point you want to make absolutely certain that there's no connection between these pins in the middle row. So this one on the far right is the one that we should have isolated from everything else. So you want to use your ohm meter to check that there's 0 ohms between, oh, not 0 ohms, infinite ohms, I guess. So there's no connection between this pin and the other pins on the middle row. And I tried powering this up and turning my transmitter on and just checking that it's still functioning. It made a hell of a noise, because what happens is, yep, that's running. What happens is, because now it's detecting no voltage at all, it thinks there's too low voltage in the receiver. So what happens when you turn this on is you get this noise, and as you can see, internal voltage 1, that is the voltage of the receiver, is being measured as 0. The 5.58 is of course the transmitter voltage here, so that's fine. So even though it's making that noise, it is, I'm just moving the sticks here, you can see pitch and roll moving, and there's my switch is going okay. So the receiver is still functioning fine, it's just that it thinks that there is no voltage. Well, it's correctly thinking that there's no voltage. So now we just have to put that little wire through and hope that that's going to work. I'm going to use some of this nice little very thin silicone wire that comes with the CC3D controller that I seem to have cut up and used for something else. But anyway, I'll put that on and see how it goes. Okay, I have my little wire attached here now, and I'm happy to report that this seems to have worked beautifully. Let's see if I can pick this up a bit. Maybe I'll just leave it there in case I pull something out, but the little yellow wire is going into the top of the resistor as instructed, and that at the moment is connected to the positive terminal of my voltage regulator over there. And there is also a ground coming from the voltage regulator onto the receiver as well, and it's connected to the mini quad through the ppm cable to be powered. So it's receiving its power from here, and then I'm going to use this as a fake battery voltage that I can adjust as I go. So its power supply here is turned off at the moment, so when we turn this on we're going to get the same result that we had before with 0 volts. And you may be able to see there, but it's set to 5 volts, and if I turn this on, now we see we have 5 volts on the receiver. That's int V1 because I've set 5 volts over here. And if I whoops, how do you do this again? Oh yeah, click that. So I'll just turn this dial up a bit over there, and we should see the voltage on. Hopefully you can see all of this. Let me just. So I'm turning it up in the top left, it's up to about 5.5 volts. And we can see the same number almost reflected on the transmitter there. And I've heard people saying in the RC Groups forums that they've managed to put this voltage up to a 3S battery voltage. And they say it can probably go up to 4S as well. I think I will try, because this is my already damaged receiver that the antennas are broken. I could probably replace them, but I thought I'd try this with this one as an experiment. So why don't we take this all the way up to a 4S voltage. Oh, I see. I can't go any higher than 10.8 at the moment because my battery that is supplying the power supply only has 11.8. So I'll have to connect up a different power source to try this. I might do that in another cut. So I'll just stop this here for now. But we can see that it's working pretty well. And if you were worried that your receiver was going to be able to handle a full 4S voltage, you could maybe just use the bottom 2 cells of your LiPo from the balance cable and set your battery alarm on here to be half of what your full 4 cells would be. Speaking of battery alarms, let's have a little look at that. I think that is in here. It would be an RX setup, RX battery, and so we can set an alarm here for internal sensor. Oh, and this only goes up to 10 volts too, so yeah, I don't think you can actually do this with a full 4S battery voltage. So you're going to have to arrange some kind of an alarm here, which is only, say, yeah, I think the best way to do it would be, and I saw people doing this in the forums as well, use as your input, use the bottom 2 cells of your LiPo and set your alarm as appropriate for a 2-cell LiPo here, which is better than nothing, I suppose. And if your battery is nicely balanced, then you're not going to be getting too much of an inaccurate result. As an example of what I was trying to say there, let's suppose you have a 4S battery and you're flying, but you've connected this input to the middle pin of your balance plug on your LiPo. So this is only looking at 2 cells of voltage. That would be, on a fully charged LiPo, that would be about 8.4 volts. So let's say my battery, oh, it says 8.3 over there, but it's reading about 8.4 on here. And then let's say we do some flying. So we use the battery up a little bit, voltage starts to go down, and I've set my alarm to go off at 7 volts, which is 3.5 volts per cell. And as I get closer and closer to that, as soon as we go under 7.5 volts, Oh, wait a minute. It's actually, yeah, 7.5 volts the alarm starts to go off. Yeah. Shut up. So at 7.5 volts it's going off, even though I set the alarm for oops, oh damn. Oh, I did set it at 7.5. What a dummy. So 7 volts, which will be 3.5 volts per cell. Let's go back to this. Now we should be able to turn it down to 7 volts before the alarm goes off. Yeah, that's good. So you don't get that really noisy alarm, diddle 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 diddle, like that all the time. You just get this sort of more quieter alarm. But that's still enough to let you know that, battery's getting low and you should land. So I think that is how I will try it and see how that goes. Oh, this is great. So this means that I can completely remove the OSD from here, because I put an OSD in here, but when I thought about it, the only reason that I really needed an OSD was to tell me the battery voltage, and if I can do that without having an OSD and extra wiring and having to route the video signal through another point of failure to look at something on my screen, it would be good if I could avoid that. So I'll try having no OSD and no battery alarm on the quad. At least no. I usually have one of these, but I'm going through those very quickly. I think I've lost about 9 of them already. So I want to try something a bit different with this one. Okay, I have everything back inside the original case now. Seems to be working fine. So we have 7.2 volts there, and so I figured out how you get the noisy alarm to show. That's the low voltage level there. So the middle one is the slow alarm, and then the low one will be the noisy one. That means you really have to stop flying. So I've set those at 6 and 7 volts, and we can just so just over 7 at the moment. When we go below 7, oh, this thing goes to sleep by the looks of it. So when you go below 7, we get the slow alarm. And then when we go below 6, we get that one. So that's how you can set those two up. And you'll notice that it's also reflecting in the battery meter display there as well when I change the voltage. So now we have a tiny little bit in the battery bars. As we raise the voltage up, we get some more pixels. This is pretty neat, isn't it? Well, I guess people that are using the Tyrannus and all those kind of transmitters are used to this kind of thing, but I'm not, so I think it's pretty neat. So gradually, as we get closer to the value that we set as our high voltage, which was 10 volts, I think that's going to fill up all of the bars in the battery meter at the top left, top right. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's where I'm going to leave it for now. I had a little bit more of a look around on the net, and there are some mods that you can do for this transmitter which I intend to try, and I just realized that one of them was to take away this restriction that only lets you have a maximum of 10 here. See, I can't go up any higher than 10, which I really want to use it directly for a 4S battery. But the mods apparently let you change that value. At least I think that's what they do. So I'm going to give that a try. The other thing I thought about was maybe putting a voltage divider inside here so that I could just connect my battery up directly to here and not have to bother with balance plugs or anything like that. So I had a couple of resistors here I was going to try that with, but I think what I'll do is I'll just wait and I'll try out the transmitter firmware reflashing and see if that can do it for me. So for now, that is going to stay like that. Anyway, hope that was interesting. Thanks for watching.